Sheriff Brunson
Yes.
and Chief Jenkins.
Yes, sir.
Good
morning.
I want to compliment you two men because as a law enforcement professional of more than 40 years, I saw you guys come together in a critical situation and send two messages. One to the community, that you're out here taking care of business, and another to the bad guys, that they can think that because you wear different uniforms or you have different responsibilities, that when they decide to mess up, you all are as one. And I just want to congratulate you guys for the takedown of that young 4-year-old child. But now, it gives me joy that you guys took down the criminal. But at the same time, it breaks my heart that two valuable Black lives have been lost.
Yeah, definitely.
So what say you, gentlemen? And we'll start with the young man first. Chief Jenkins, what's in your head?
When you look at it, like you said, it's tragic from both ends because you have a 4-year-old that lost their life, and then when you bring the alleged suspect in, and you look at him, and I'm looking at him saying, man, I have a son almost married. My son is 17, and he had his whole life before him. So you look at it from both things, just like you said. One life is lost here, and this person's life is lost too. I mean, there is a road to redemption for him. If he gets on the path of God and go through whatever he's trying to go through in his personal life. But it's tragic to the community because we see it so much on an everyday basis. Most of the things that we come in contact with, we are dealing with our young Black men in the community. And that's why when me and the sheriff talk, we try to get things together so we can get this message out. Hey, there's other paths, there's other avenues. Just like when the sheriff goes out and talk to him at the school, when he talks to him at the football games, and even on the college level when they first coming in as freshmen and sophomores, he's over there on the university campus also interacting with them. And I think as long as we keep doing that and keep trying to rebuild the community, I think we're going to be successful. But we do got to make sure that if we see our young men going down the path, us as being men, and especially Black men, we need to say something to them. We need to try to steer them on the right path. Not saying that we're going to change everybody's way, but at least if we change some of them, that can help the problem that we're seeing.
Sheriff, what say you?
Well, first of all, I got to commend the chief on his work and their work at the police department from minute one. I think after this happened, it wasn't a few minutes before me and Chief got in contact with each other and started gathering information. And I can't even say the number of times we called and talked to each other, sharing information and trying to get everybody together with manpower. And we told each other we wanted this guy caught that night. We wasn't going to rest until we caught him that night. And that's the way we both felt. And we just put our resources together. And one of the main things is that we work together on this. And that's the way it has to be for the betterment of this community. I'm so sad, and we talked about this, that this young man lost his life. That touched me. I mean, that hit me down to my core, and as it does whenever we have a shooting and whenever there's a crime committed, it definitely, and I know Chief feels the same way, man, we hate this. And we've talked, most of the time when we've had a shooting or something happen, we talk, all the time, and we try to get together and try to solve these crimes. But man, it was like I say, all these shootings are just really personal to us. But when you talk about a 4-year-old who was minding their own business, somebody recklessly shoots this 4-year-old, I had to get down on my knees, man. And like I said, this was just so personal. And we wanted to get this criminal for our community, for the family, and for everybody. Because when everybody and anybody heard this, they were praying for this young man. so many comments, so many things going on, and we definitely had to try to bring this, to a halt right now. We still have other things to do on this case, but I'm so glad that we were able to get this young man. All of this is definitely personal. We feel the same way, and I know you feel the same way, both of y'all chiefs, because you've been here and you've done this, and you know how crime in the community really hurts us. This is not just a job, it's a life for us. And that really, really hurts when we have a crime in the community. And I don't think, and don't even know if the community knows that. It's not just a job. When people say stuff about the police and the sheriff not caring, man, they don't know how that feels when we're out here giving our life and putting our life on the line and leaving our families to make sure this community is safe. I know Chief was out all night. I know I was up and out all night. And when we got home, we couldn't sleep. And I actually called Chief at 6-something that morning saying, hey, man, I'm really tired, but hey, we got to talk about some more stuff. People still calling, hey, let's get the rolling. He was ready. He said, I'll be there. We talking at 6-something in the morning. And I know he ain't got no sleep. I know I ain't got no sleep, but guess what? We ready to roll. And that's the way it was, man. And that's the way we feel. And I hope the community knows that. I hope they know what this takes to do this job. But man, my thoughts, my prayers go out to the family of both of these young men and whoever else is involved in this crime. If you're involved, my plea to you is come turn yourself in, because we coming to get you. If you were involved, please turn yourself in. It'll be a lot easier and a lot safer. And that's just the right thing to do right now. Things happen. We wouldn't say that it was meant to be, but something happened. Whether it was an accident, but whenever you get out there fooling with a gun, you got to pay the consequences. We got to stop these crimes with these guns, these young people with these guns, and this black on black crime. We got to stop that. How can we better ourselves in our community if we going out there handling this stuff the way we handling stuff? When you get into something and somebody's shooting at you, come tell the police. We'll deal with them. But you can't take matters in your own hands and be reckless and go out there shooting these guns, because you don't know who you gonna hurt. And in this case, you hurt an innocent baby. You hurt those families. That baby can't come back and be with his family. That's the ultimate crime. And we're gonna bring everybody to justice. You had anything to do with this, we coming to get you, and I promise you that.
Okay, and I'm looking at the picture of this little beautiful child, and my next question to you was going to be, how does the death of a child affect police officers? So you eloquently expressed the hurt that taking a life of this beautiful little boy really took a strain on you. Now, you take it down. I contacted Dr. Brooks. She couldn't be here today because she's tied up all day. But I asked her about that same thing from a educator's perspective, since she is the superintendent of our schools. And I was able to get a short video. Listen to this video from Dr. Brooks. And I want Dr. Brooks, how are you today?
Well, honestly, Chief Frazier, I have been better. This past week has been a pretty tough one in our community with the loss of life to COVID-19 cases. We had a couple of bad accidents over the last few weeks that claimed the lives of some of our younger adults, and they have children in the school system, and we have people still trying to battle and recover from COVID-19, and then on top of that, this weekend we just had a senseless, random flight of bullets that took one of our little 4-year-olds away, and just makes no sense to me. So I've had better days, that's for sure.
Based on the article that you wrote on media, that 4-year-old death hit you hard, huh?
Yeah, it did. I have a young child myself, and I see kids who are, 3 and 4 every single day, either online or in person at school, and it just touched my heart. I personally know the family and the children, and in fact, I had both the mom and the dad of the young man as students when they were in middle school. So I was their principal. I know grandma because she works with the young children at one of our local daycares. So she's by and at our schools all day long. So yeah, it was real personal for me. And unfortunately, I also know the accused.
What is it that the community needs to realize from tragedies such as that 4-year-old's death?
There are just so many things that come to mind, and of course, one is that we have to start very early on teaching the respect for life, and it has to happen in the home, the church, and the school, that major triangle of stability for our community. It has to happen in all 3 places, and it has to start in the home, has to be picked up with at the school, and it has to be carried over into the community and the churches. And that's respect for life. Nobody has the right to take another person's life. We just don't have that right. Unless you have signed up for the military or you are a officer acting appropriately in your line of duty, you don't have the right to stab, shoot, choke, murder anybody. And I don't know where we got off on this tangent that I have the right to attempt or take somebody's life. We've got to eradicate that. Now, we can make mistakes all along, and we all make mistakes. We're human. But to take somebody's life like that is a deliberate fault. You have to get the weapon. It's premeditated. And so we've got to start early on helping and instilling others a respect for life. And I guess we have so many things. Video games, the insurrection at the White House, everywhere young people look now, hip-hop culture. And it seems like it's just okay to snuff out somebody's life. And that's not okay.
I was just about to ask you if media was playing a part in this.
Absolutely. Media, movies, songs, all kinds of things lend themselves to allowing people to think that some things are acceptable, and they just cannot be acceptable. They just simply can't. And murder is one of them, and probably the one that I would say stands alone in taking somebody's life.
Go ahead.
And so, I really think that we can come together and even create some pledges and some curriculum about the value of life, and have our children to take pledges, much like we take the 4-H pledge, much like we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I mean, there's nothing greater to pledge ourselves to than protecting life.
Amen. Because each life we protect from the other end protects us in the process.
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. And so if you have someone who goes into a grocery store and they're hungry and they sit in the middle of the store and they open up a can, hey, let's help that person. Let's get that person some food. Let's see what services are for that person. That's a person in need. That's completely different from somebody deliberately planning to take a life. Yeah. And over what? For what reason? And you didn't take the life you were trying to take. You took a baby's life.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly do thank you for taking the time to voice your opinions, because you have a brilliant idea about starting to teach.
I'll tell tell you, Chief, one more thing that we can do in this community is we've got to get some video systems here because we want to be proactive and preventative, but on the reactionary side, and I do think our law enforcement did a great job of using their leads to track down at least one of the alleged culprits. But we need to make sure all of our elderly, senior citizens, apartments, single moms, households, everybody has Arlo camera or a Ring camera or a Simply Safe camera. Some of these things are $10 or less a month. Because when we do have something happen, we need to be Johnny on the spot of letting them know it will not be tolerated in Macon County. You will not come to the 4-6 and do these things and get away with them. And so I think that's another important piece of our plan is proactive means yes, current means yes, but then when we need evidence, let's make sure we have the necessary tools in place to get it.
Amen. I agree 100%, and I want to thank you so very much for taking the time out of your busy evening to speak with me.
Absolutely, Chief. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sheriff, I picked on the chief first last time. What do you say to this community that they need to realize in order to come to grips with the serious craziness that exists in our community? I know what's happening all over the world and stuff, but now we can only deal with what we have right here if we get busy. What's your recommendations to this community about what my grandmama used to say, straighten it up and flying right?
Well, one of the things is, and you just said that about what's happening outside our community. One thing I need to let people know is that this problem, and I gotta say this problem is not just happening in Macon County. You know, this is a problem that's happening all over the world, all over the country, you know, and the question is why? Why is this happening? People say that we failed our young people. I know when I was coming up, everybody in the community got on my butt, and my parents let them get on my butt. I had a neighbor across the street from me. She sat in that picture window and she watched my house like a hawk. And anything I did, Miss Burke was gonna tell my mama. So Miss Berta whooped my butt, and when my mama got home, my mama whooped my butt too because of what Miss Burke said. It wasn't no question about Miss Burke coming over there yelling out the door, telling me I better straighten up or she was gonna tell mama, or I better step up to her house so she can give me a couple licks. You know, that's the way the community was. And my mama didn't care. My mama, whatever Miss Burke said, it was true. You know, I better not say Miss Burke was telling a story. I better not try to defend myself because I got my butt whooped even harder. In some kind of way, we got away from that. We don't want anybody to say anything to our kids. You know, we got into working all the time, and we got to spend time with those kids. We got to let people tell us what's going on with our children. You know, you love your kids. You don't want to believe they're going to do anything wrong. But I tell you what, my son, my kids better not do anything in front of me. But I can't say what they going to do when I'm not around. Yeah. You know, I mean, I could go in some instances with my little boy at school. I didn't think he'll do anything, but I can't put it past him. But guess what? When that principal called me, I'm going to come up there and whoop his butt. I'm going to get him when he get home. And that's what we got to get back to. You know, we got to bring, I mean, everybody talk about religion. We got to pray with these kids. We got to let them know there's a higher entity in what we are doing. You know, we got to let them know we care about them. We got to try to get these guns out of their hands. It's so many things that we have to do to make this thing right, and it ain't gonna happen overnight. You know, it's gonna take some time to do, but we gotta be able as a village to raise these kids around here. And mom and daddy can't be the only ones raising them because mom and dad are not around them all the time. You can't just turn them loose at school and then get mad at the principal when the principal call you and tell you they up there being bad and fuss and cuss at the principal. These kids see that. You know, it's sending a bad message. So we got to get back to the whole village raising these children and being eyes out for our kids. I'm not saying that the village has to go spank these kids and do that, but at least try to help raise them. Let mom and them know what's going on. Let them know what they're doing. And, you know, law enforcement comes in when they're acting up. Law enforcement tries to be proactive by talking to them, being part of the community, being part of the family. Don't shut law enforcement out, because we out there trying to help raise these kids too. We just don't want to see them when they come to jail or when they get into the system. We want to come out and talk to the kids. And so many people tell their kids that law enforcement is bad. We're not bad. You know, there are some bad officers, you know, people that infiltrate what we're trying to do. But when me and the chief find them out, they go. They're not officers. So we got to get around that. Most law enforcement officers are good people who want to help raise your kids, who want to care about the community. You know, we rather talk to them on the other side than have them come into the system. And we talk about this all the time. Don't tell your kids we're bad. We're not bad. You know, we are trying to help raise your kids. We are trying to help keep them out of this system. We're trying to do things to prevent them from coming here. And they don't realize that, because they think we're the enemy and they don't want to have anything to do with us. And I got to tell you, I talked to this young man months ago. You know, I see comments talk about the parents and stuff, but his dad actually stopped me. He stopped me and said, please help my son. I'm concerned about my son. I don't want this to happen. Please talk to him. And I did talk to him at that moment. The young man didn't want to hear anything I had to say. He told me he don't like law enforcement, don't trust us, don't like us. You know, and I tried to talk to this young man. So it wasn't, his dad reached out to me, tried to help this young man. And I'm not going to go into the whole story, but it's not like the parents didn't care, because they did. I experienced that with this young man. They did care. We got to get together and we got to keep coming up with things. And I mean, I know the chief is proactive. We talk all the time. We want to do things in the community. We want to help the community, but you got to open up. You got to trust us and know that we love this community. We love our kids. Don't tell them we the enemy. We are not the enemy.
What say ye, Chief?
Just to pick it back on what the sheriff was saying, I think as a parent, it's hard to do it by yourself, because you can't be around them 24 hours, 7 days a week. So that's why it's vital that you have that support system around those children, and those neighbors or friends and family. They should be those, I guess you can say, away from home parents, to kind of keep that person in track. But one thing I have begun to notice too is that when our kids do something, we can't automatically go on the defensive. We have to make sure we look at a whole picture to see if there is some type of validity on what somebody is telling me that my child or son or daughter is doing. And when we look at it, we need to address it. And we got to stop upholding kids when they're doing wrong, and sit down and actually talk to them. Just like the sheriff was saying with that young man, he's tried to sit down and talk to him. But when they get to an age to where they believe they know everything or understand everything, it's hard to get them back from that point. So that's why we got to start at an early age to make sure we instill in them, hey, the police is here to help you. Hey, this neighbor is here to look out for you. This person over here is trying to lead you down the right path, because they have your best interests at heart. And I think once we continue to do that, I think it's going to help bring things around. But like I say, we got to catch it at an early age, because when they get 17 to 18, it's very hard to bring them back. Not saying it's impossible, but it's hard. And that's why we got to continue to do what we're doing every day. I think that's going to help us move forward in that situation, because like I said, I got a 17-year-old and I have an 8-year-old. I try to sit down and talk to them as much as possible. And I try to let them know, hey, even though your dad's the police, you still can talk to me if you got this going on. And even if they go out and do something, I still sit down and I put them in their place. So I think that's going to help us moving forward.
Okay, well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time out this morning to come on to update the community on the capture the young 18-year-old suspect and the death of a little 4-year-old boy. I've heard you guys articulate to the community that you love these children out here, that you love, trust, and respect their parents out here. And here's my final word. We have to be better examples for our children. We've got to stop acting stupid. We've got to stop cussing every word out of our mouth. Every three sentences is a vulgar sentence right in front of our children, because that's why they go to school and think that they have a right to curse the teacher out and curse the principal out because they heard you cussing people out. We have to stop drinking so much booze. We have to stop doing dope in the presence of our children, getting them on contact highs right in our own homes. We have to start respecting law and order. Just like the sheriff said, law enforcement officers are not your friends because they're out there to be the difference between good, bad, and ugly. But they certainly are professional and trained properly to be able to help you to do what you have to do for yourself and your family. And if you call law enforcement and ask them to intervene before a situation happened, like that father did the sheriff, well, then there's some hope in it that we as a unit can help to make a better place in our community that's safer and more secure as it pertains to the environment. With that, we'll see you next time there's a need to update you on a critical situation in our community. Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
You too now.
All right.
Everybody be safe on that road.
All right, brother. All right. Bye-bye.